I've been stepping up my manga game here on YouTube over the last several months. More coverage, more suggestion lists, and more videos about my manga reading experiences. I hope I've drawn your attention to some new and fascinating series and answered any queries you may have had. But it appears that somewhere along the road, I may have failed to address the most basic of all questions. How do you read manga? I've been there, figuring out what manga is and how to read it, as well as the terms to know, all by myself. I still recall picking up the first ever manga volume at a friend's house.
I haven't a clue what's going on here, but I'll act like I do.
I was enthralled but had no idea about the reading method or manga in general. So, today I decided to create a video on the beginner's guide to manga to assist individuals who are in a same situation as I was. In this video, I will explain what manga is, how to read them, what makes them unique, their types, and many other things which can be useful to anyone who is trying to get into manga. So, what is manga? To answer the question directly, manga are comics or graphic novels originating from Japan. Most manga conform to a style developed in Japan in the late 19th century, and the form has a long prehistory in earlier Japanese art. The term manga is used in Japan to refer to both comics and cartooning. But outside of Japan, the word is typically used to refer to comics originally published in the country. How to read. All traditional Japanese manga reads from right to left, the reverse of English, which reads from left to right. In original manga-style books, the action, the word bubbles, and sound effects are all written in this direction. So, when you take up a manga volume to read, make sure the spine is on the right. The right to left directional rule also applies while viewing the panels on the inside. Manga, like English language comics, is read from top to bottom, but this works in tandem with the right to left guideline. Hopefully, the mangaka did a good job of laying up their panels so that there is no misunderstanding about the reading flow. However, I fully confess that some mangaka use more crowded layouts that make it harder to follow the action. In most cases, the black backdrop signifies a flashback. The events described in those panels occurred prior to the present tale. You may even come across a page where the backdrop is black at the top and fades to white at the bottom. That hue change denotes a transition from the past to the present. It's an ingenious method of visual storytelling that may be utilized fairly successfully. Difference from American comics. There are some profound differences between American comics and manga. The biggest difference, in addition to the fact that Japanese comics are created in Japanese whereas American comics are originally created in English, is that manga are generally read in the reverse order of their American cousins. What American readers think of as the last page of the story is usually the first page. The panels on each manga page are ordered from right to left instead of from left to right, and the writing in them is usually vertical. Manga are usually, but not always, printed in black and white, as opposed to color. They are also usually more visual than American comics and contain fewer words. The drawings in manga, however, are usually much simpler than in American comic books. Manga stories are usually much longer than American comics, which are not published in magazines but in paperback or hardback. Japanese manga are often first published in magazines and then come out in paperback. Second, there are also a lot more manga in Japan than there are comics in America. In fact, nearly 40% of all magazines and books published in Japan today are said to be manga. Difference from anime. Although they are both equally important to Japanese culture and entertainment, the two are not the same thing. Put simply, manga is the term given to Japanese comic books and graphic novels, whereas anime is the name given to Japanese animation. Although both tend to be considered genres in the West, in reality they are a description of how the content is produced. They share many similarities and the creation of both has been credited to Osamu Tezuka, sometimes referred to as the godfather of manga and the Japanese Walt Disney. Manga is considered by some to be more artistically original than anime, much the same as books are to films. This is because most mangaka write only original content and many start by self-publishing. In fact, self-published works, or doujinshi, are incredibly popular. Unlike manga, lots of anime are based pre-existing stories. This is because it's cheaper to adapt an existing work than it is to create a completely original storyline. Additionally, adaptations are assumed to be a safer investment, as the original work will already have a following. Manga is a much quicker way of publishing work than anime. A single issue of a manga can be written, drawn, and inked within a single week. On the other hand, an anime series will usually require months of preparation and work to produce each episode. To oversimplify manga versus anime are TV shows or movies, while manga are comic books or graphic novels. The two media share a unique visual style, and many manga serve as the basis for anime. Still, most manga are never made into anime series, and not anime series are based on manga. Since the word anime is so closely related to the English animation, you will always be able to remember that anime means animated shows or films. Where to start? The first thing you should figure out is what genre or style of writing and narrative you prefer. When it comes to reading manga, there is a story for everyone in every genre, and that goes for Korean manhwa, too. Manga offers it all, from sci-fi and fantasy to LGBT romance and kid-friendly stories to literary fiction. You may begin with classics such as Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto, or go deeper with One Punch Man, Death Note, and Kimi no Todoke. If you want more suggestions, feel free to check out my channel where I publish different recommendations for everyone. Types of manga. Each genre of manga is aimed towards a distinct demographic. They are not genres, such as action, romance, and so on, but rather terms that indicate which audience the manga is meant for. Kids, adults, teenagers, and so on. As a result, while anime and manga fit under each of the categories, they can be of any genre. The kind of manga might help you locate additional titles that are similar to the one you're looking for. Primarily, there are 5 demographics of manga. Shonen. Shonen is a type of manga that are primarily marketed and directed towards young teen male readers. These graphic novels and comics are mostly aimed towards guys aged 12 to 18. The age group changes depending on the reader and the publication. Shonen manga is the most well-known and best-selling type of manga. Shonen manga is distinguished by strong action and frequently hilarious storylines centered on male heroes. Martial arts, mecha, science fiction, sports, horror, and legendary monsters are all common topics in shonen manga. The brotherhood between boys or men in sports teams, combat squads, and other similar groups is frequently stressed. Weekly Shonen Jump, Jump Square, Weekly Shonen Magazine, Besatsu Shonen Magazine, Monthly Shonen Magazine, Weekly Shonen Sunday, and Weekly Shonen Champion are examples of this genre's periodicals. Manga such as Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Naruto, Demon Slayer, and others are all classified as shonen. Shoujo. Shoujo is types of manga aimed at a teen female target demographic readership. Shoujo manga covers many subjects in a variety of narrative styles, from historical drama to science fiction, often with a focus on romantic relationships or emotions. Strictly speaking, however, shoujo manga does not comprise a style or a genre, but rather indicates a target demographic. In a strict sense, the term shoujo manga refers to a manga serialized in a shoujo manga magazine. Such magazines can appear on a variety of schedules. Manga such as Sailor Moon, Kanata-Kara, Cardcaptor Sakura, and others are all classified as shoujo. Seinen. Seinen manga are the type of manga marketed toward young adult men. In Japanese, the word seinen literally means youth, but the term seinen manga is also used to describe the target audience of magazines like Weekly Manga Times and Weekly Manga Goraku, which cater specifically to men's interests, and are marketed towards a demographic of adult men between the ages of 18 and 40. Seinen manga are distinguished from shonen manga, which are for younger teen boys, although some seinen manga like XXX Holic share similarities with shonen manga. Seinen manga can focus on action, politics, science fiction, fantasy, relationships, sports, or comedy. Seinen manga have a wide variety of art styles and variation in subject matter. Examples of seinen series include Berserk, 20th Century Boys, One Punch Man, Golden Kamui, Mushishi, etc. A common way to tell if a manga is seinen is by looking at whether furigana is used over the original kanji text. If there are furigana on all kanji, the title is generally aimed at a younger audience. The title of the magazine it was published in is also an important indicator. Usually Japanese manga magazines with the word young in the title, Weekly Young Jump for instance, are seinen. There are also mixed shonen/seinen magazines such as Gangan Powered and Comp Ace. Other popular seinen manga magazines include Weekly Young Magazine, Weekly Young Sunday, Big Comic Spirits, Business Jump, Ultra Jump, and Afternoon. Josei. Josei manga is an editorial category of Japanese comics that emerged in the 1980s. In a strict sense, josei refers to manga marketed to an audience of adult women, contrasting shoujo manga, which is marketed to an audience of girls and young adult women. In practice, the distinction between shoujo and josei is often tenuous. While the two were initially divergent categories, many manga works exhibit narrative and stylistic traits associated with both shoujo and josei manga. This distinction is further complicated by a third manga editorial category, young ladies, which emerged in the late 1980s as an intermediate category between shoujo and josei. Josei manga is traditionally printed in dedicated manga magazines which often specialize in a specific subgenre, typically drama, romance, or pornography. Kodomamyuke. Children's manga and children's anime refer to manga and anime directed towards children 10 years and under. These series are usually moralistic, often educating children about staying in the right path in life. Each chapter is usually a self-contained story. Examples of Kodomamyuke series include The Complete Cheese Sweet Home, Fluffy Fluffy, Cinemoral, Doraemon, etc. Other thing you should know about manga. There is no law that says a mature man can't read a shoujo series or that a teen girl can't read a seinen series. It all comes down to personal preference. Many manga series, such as Hiromu Arakawa's Fullmetal Alchemist, span gender and age barriers to be loved by all. There are also manga that contradict genre rules, like as Kaiju Shirai's Promise Neverland and Kiyahiko Azuma's Yotsuba, both of which are technically shonen manga but have female protagonists. This is included so that readers may have a better grasp of what distinguishes specific manga series. People sometimes think that all manga is aimed at teenagers or children, which can cause issues if a well-meaning educator, parent, or library accidentally provides a young kid with access to a sexually explicit manga intended for adults. Manga, like any other type of narrative, may range from serious, heart-wrenching drama to stupid, thoughtless entertainment. Most manga involve exaggerated scenarios, comedy, or art, as exaggeration is nearly synonymous with the genre. Doujinshi. You are bound to have heard it at one point or another. It is the word doujinshi. Sometimes, it can be shortened to doujin, or improperly spelled as doujinshi. What does this word mean? Doujinshi is a piece of work, be it manga, art, hentai, or game, that features some sort of well-known character, set of characters, or series, but set slightly in a different time, setting, or setup. The doujin part of the word refers to a similar person, or a person who shares a similar interest with you, while she refers to some sort of periodical publication. Doujinshi is made by fans of a series for fans of the series. That is one of the reasons that doujinshi is so popular in Japan. The common misconception is that doujinshi is limited only to manga spin-offs, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. In Japan, doujinshi skirts on a strange gray side of the law. Many successful manga artists nowadays have started out selling doujinshi before they made it big, and some still do. One-shots. In comics, a one-shot is a work published as a single standalone story, rather than as part of an ongoing series. One-shot date back to the early 19th century, published in newspapers, and today may be in the form of single published comic books, parts of comic magazines/anthologies, or published online in websites. In the marketing industry, some one-shots are used as promotion tools that tie in with existing productions, movies, video games, or television shows. In the Japanese manga industry, one-shots are called yamakiri, a term which implies that the comic is presented in its entirety without any continuation. One-shot manga are often written for contests, and sometimes later developed into a full-length series, much like a television pilot. Many popular manga series began as one-shots, such as Dragon Ball, Fist of the North Star, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, Berserk, Kinnikuman, and Death Note. Rising Stars of Manga was an annual competition for original English-language one-shot manga, many of which have gone on to become full-length manga series. Some noted manga authors, such as Akira Toriyama and Rumiko Takahashi, have worked on numerous one-shot stories in addition to their serialized works. Light novels. A light novel is a style of Japanese young adult novel primarily targeting high school and middle school students. The term light novel is a wasei eigo, or a Japanese term formed from words in the English language. Light novels are often called ranobe or, in English, lane. The average length of a light novel is about 50,000 words, close to the minimum expected for a Western novel, and they are usually published in bunkoban size, i.e., A6, 10.5 cm x 14.8 cm, often with dense publishing schedules. Light novels are commonly illustrated in a manga art style, and are often adapted into manga and anime. While most light novels are published only as books, some have their chapters first serialized in anthology magazines before being collected, similar to how manga is published. So, that's all there is to it. Keep in mind that you don't have to understand anything in this video to enjoy manga. There are certain technical phrases that are used from time to time, but you do not have to know them all. Reading can sometimes provide you with extra information. So, don't be frightened to keep reading. And, that's been it. Thank you for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Keeping reading manga. Peace.